possibilities.
Can I throw out a hypothetical?
For sure.
If you had a box of truth that you could, kind of like Pandora's box, except for without unforeseen consequences, really, I suppose, because we would know what the consequences are, or we would like to think we know. But if we opened this box of truth to answer this question about Mormonism or a higher power, I guess Mormonism, let's just stick with that for now. Would you want to give that box, and you could open it and it would just give you the answer, and one of those answers includes potentially that it's not there at all. The whole point though is that the box does give you the truth, and it pushes you in the correct direction. Would you yourself want to look into it?
For sure.
Okay. Would you want to give that box to your family?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm ready to actually stand up.
So let me ask really quick.
Say some things that I've never said before to my family.
Okay.
Which I've never said. I've always kept it to myself for years.
Why would you want to give them the box?
I'm glad to say on this side because since I broke my teeth, this is my good side.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
yeah.
That's part of the purpose of being here, is getting back grounded in life, to be healthy. I'm going to have, by the end of this year, I'm going to have new, full
teeth in there.
Everything. Well, not just like I'm going to get implants and
they're expensive, dude.
I'm going to spend.
I got one too.
Mm.
And it's just really expensive.
I'm going to do
it's
it.
like $4,000.
But the thing is, you still have all your teeth. The medical condition I have, I need to be able to chew properly. Otherwise, it could kill me.
Uh-huh.
You know, almost dying on the streets of Reno this year woke me up. And it was a spiritual experience.
Yeah. And I see...
It shook my world.
Yeah, I would love to know what you mean by spiritual. I kind of consider, and this probably doesn't resonate with some of my audience probably who would watch my videos, but I consider this a spiritual experience as well. This kind of conversation tactic, a secular spiritual experience probably. But
well, it's the same in my point of view.
It depends on how we define spiritual and why we would redefine it into to mean something else if our definition isn't the same as somebody else who would use it all the time to mean something else.
It's just words that we translate into symbols, and it's ideas. And so we grew up with this English language, and the English language is so formatted on Christian traditionalism through the Bible from Latin that the way we even conceptualize the world is through this schema, through this point of view. So many of the things we say are biblical synonyms, examples, what's the word, stories that have helped us see and speak of the world in certain ways. So many of the things that we say, we don't even realize it, are actually because of our great-grandfathers and great-grandfathers and great-grandfathers being Judeo-Christian monolithic deity people. And so then we are therefore speaking and seeing the world through that prism. And it's not our fault. It's just how it is. We're born into it. And so this language kind of holds us captive in saying certain things certain ways. And so then in other languages, for example, the word love and God, we say God and we say love.
Abstract noun.
But
love.
now we're
God
all these other ways of seeing and speaking of these thoughts and feelings and ideas. And in English, we are stuck of saying, we can only say love instead of te quiero, amor.
Yeah.
You know?
And you just learned Spanish like nearly fluently like recently.
Yeah.
So that's changed your
Fresh in
life,
my
it
mind.
seems.
And the way I speak English and my conversations have slowed down. And then in conversations, like with me and you, especially because you're an intelligent person, has all these, you have a lot of tools in your pocketbook to like express yourself. And so I'm like, oh wait, what's that mean? And I'm like, I've become a scribe now. Actually, I wish I had my journal with me right now. Because when there's things in quotes and intelligent things that happen, or just intriguing. When stuff gets said, I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. I'll write it down because I want to be able to hold on to it and remember it. And so then, back to the language, when there's words in English that I don't understand, but I understand most. I'm very well read, but sometimes like, wait, what does that mean? And I never see, because we're usually want not to be perceived as unintelligent, so you don't stop and go, wait, what's that word? What does that mean? What's the definition?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, wait, what's that mean?
So that's a big part of what this process is. It's about repeating back what you hear and making sure that we're clear with the other person's idea of what it is, to see where the edges are of that idea. How far does this idea go? And what would it take to change our minds about it? And are we concerned whether or not we're open-minded to our own idea? And what would we want to see from someone else who is thinking our idea in the opposite way? So if we think something is true and someone else does not, what would we want them to accept to come to our side? Or maybe they have nothing that they could accept to come to our side. And if that's the case, why is that? And is it important to try to figure out why their minds work that way?
Well, to me it isn't.
So to you it's not important if somebody is believing something, let's say something important.
Well, if it's something that's going to hurt people.
Okay, so it's a harm thing. What about, how much do you value truth?
Well,
it's a hard question.
What's truth? Really? The only truth that I
Maybe
know
what we should do is get started on this workshop, and because that's what it's about. This is about what truth is and how much we value it, and how we could ever resolve a dispute of fact with other people without debate, by getting to know them, by learning from them, rather than preaching. I consider this a good nutshell way to describe this. Do I have something in my hair?
It's a little bit flaky.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I gotcha. I just woke up.
Your skin. I have the same problem. This is that much shit.
You love me.
I love you dearly.
Yeah, I know. We met at Burning Man and fell in love.
No, I mean,
7 years ago, something like that. And then worked out. And then worked out together for a while.
7.5 years ago.
Yeah. So wait, where was I going before that?
Truth. This workshop getting started.
Oh yeah, it's about. Oh yeah, you said something about whether or not it's important.
Important to me that they believe on my side or your side.
Okay,
unless it's harmful.
Unless it's harmful.
But then how do you define what actually is harmful? And then there's that subject. So it continues to unfold. What's really actually harmful.
I was going somewhere really cool with that, but I think I'll probably go there anyway once we get started.
We'll keep. It's the eternal round.
Yeah.
Here.
So
it's not like we're going in a circle. We're going in a DNA coil, and as you continue to do that, you can find more and more truth or opinion or whatever.
I'm gonna turn this up for you. Okay. So I guess I'll just start like this. I've already talked to you about a whole host of things for over the years I've known you, but I think this is going to be like the best way to really dig into your mind and figure out the way you think about stuff. So it's like a meta discussion about thinking about thinking.
Well, the one reason I'm excited about it is because I've been spending my whole life thinking about this stuff, but I've been rewriting my point of view because I've started to discover that there's so much out there that overlaps in so-called truth, and it intrigues me and it delights me that there is or could be a big picture and an unknown, and wrong, but does it really matter? And as long as you're not hurting people, it seems to me that it's okay.
Okay.
So these are the bridges that I feel that I'm discovering within myself, that I feel like I can be a healer and a connector, bridge builder. Like I think that you're doing right now is.
How do you build a bridge if there's a dispute? Let's say
when there's disputes, it is because of people's needs aren't being met and they're being misunderstood. And so then they're like, having a need to be understood or recognized, and so when someone's not able to express that correctly, and then when someone's also unable to hear and be receptive of the other person's needs, then disputes tend to happen. And so building a bridge is, in a way, finding a way for us as a human family or individuals to communicate clearly your personal needs or needs as a group, on how we can have them fulfilled and to be understood, because not being understood is a lot of why the cycle of violence continues in the world.
Yeah, maybe even the soul thing that is continuing the cycle of violence. It seems people who just don't understand something somewhere. Someone's not understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a list of commonly held beliefs, and take a moment here to consider and check off. And at the bottom there, it asks to list 3 common beliefs you don't think are the case, and they don't need to be on that list.
Okay. So I believe that
you can just sit there in silence here and check that off. Take your time.
I have an interesting addition to one of the ones I want to check.
Okay.
Climate change is not happening. Pollution's bad. We do change the climate. Whatever. She's misunderstood. We have souls, ghost. Aliens visit us. Astrology.
You and I have talked about astrology for
non-material.
Many times.
Crystals with us powers. Earth is flat. Magic works. Well, it depends. What is magic? I'm going to say magic works, but what is magic?
You can define it how you want.
The thing is, you define it acupuncture, it's touch and attention. So I'm going to say I believe in acupuncture, but I don't believe in acupuncture. I believe in attention and touch. And so it's like there's a wishy-washy. You know what I mean? I can't say I believe in it.
Yeah, we can go into what it means.
I mean,
later.
Tarot cards, no. Tarot cards, it's like playing poker. There's odds, and then it's such a joke. But it's fun, and it's neat, and it does make you think, and it allows you to step outside yourself. I possess an item that brings you luck. But when you believe in something, therefore it could bring you luck. So, I mean, it's like, I don't possess something that brings me luck. I don't know. We live in a simulation. I don't even know what that means. We should always trust our feelings. It depends on...
It depends on the feeling?
It depends on the source, I believe.
If you feel it.
But there's feelings that are stress-induced, love-induced, from your mind, from your psyche, from the observer, from your gut, from your heart. We should always trust our feelings? No. Everything happens for a reason? Lately, I want to say yes more than before.
Go ahead and check it.
But for a long time...
If you think it's more likely the case than not the case, then I want you to push the button.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say that because just lately, the coincidence of my life, it just seems to...
Okay. We'll go into it.
It's too much of a coincidence.
Let's get through this list here,
Sorry,
and we'll
I
move
know
on to
the
the
meaning
next
of life. Okay. Please list 3 common beliefs that you do not share. That you do not. Okay. Please list 3 common beliefs that you do not think are true. I don't think Jesus Christ.
You just type them in for me if you can.
I don't believe Jesus Christ is a demigod. As in half God, half.
Okay.
I don't believe in reincarnation. There's 3 common beliefs that you do not think are true. I do not believe in astrology.
I think you and I probably have that one in common a lot because we've talked about that one for years.
It is an excuse for behavior and not having your own willpower.
So remember when we talked about whether or not a thing it's important if it's not hurting anyone. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
If it's not hurting anybody. Okay, so we just talked about that a moment ago. In the case of astrology, is that hurting anyone?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've witnessed it. I've witnessed...
In what way?
Well, I've witnessed people using... I know a lot about it because I'm around so many people and I talk about it constantly. But I witness... It's my Saturn returns or Jupiter's this, and therefore I'm behaving erratically.
Yeah.
And it's... Well, maybe it's because you haven't eaten enough food or got enough sleep or you need to exercise or you are making choices that have consequences, and now you're paying for those consequences, and it's causing you to be upset and to behave erratically, and then you're saying it's because you were born under certain suns or because now a planet is coming into alignment with some other planet, and you're gonna make an excuse.
Can I repeat back what I'm hearing you say?
Sure.
It sounds to me like the reason why we would consider it potential harm is because, if not true, it's driving people to change their behavior in ways that they might not all ordinarily change. Like, in other words, they're changing their thought process in their approach to their own goals because of an outside source. And if that outside source is not true, then they're needlessly moving and changing their behavior.
Okay.
In such a way.
I agree with you.
It's a question. It's not an argument. I'm asking you.
Yes.
That's the reason
why I must add, on top of that, it is the lack of accountability of the behavior.
Lack of accountability. What do you mean?
So maybe they're not necessarily changing their behavior, but they're, instead of being looking within, as in, I'm making choices, they have consequences.
Yeah.
It's leading me to feel or be a certain way, and then leading me to behave certain ways. And instead of looking within about how I can be a better person, I'm using it as an excuse for this happening in my life instead of being accountable for my own life. Looking at within your own power to be stable or sane or healthy. Treat someone kindly instead of unkindly because of certain moons or things in alignment. Mm-hmm. Now, I also say, on top of all this with astrology, gravity is powerful and it affects all of us. Mm-hmm. And the gravity out there that does affect, scientifically proven, affect us.
That affects water and...
Yes, and we are water.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it could be absolutely true that some of these alignments do affect the Earth and ourselves.
The question is whether or not we understand that effect.
No, we do not.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely do not. And to think that it's affecting us is hubris. Is that the right word?
I believe it is. Yeah, well said. So I want to move into the next thing. So this is just information gathering stage. So Here's a survey about reality. And there are a list of following statements about how the mind works in relation to reality.
Okay.
So how do we
So
apply
I think I
reality?
looked at this briefly at the burn, but I didn't.
You did, and as a matter of fact, this is a special piece of paper because it's from I
Camera
brought
stick.
it. I brought it to Burning Man and brought a note, and for some reason I haven't used that sheet yet. So you're using my last Burning Man.
Mystical too. Is there?
So this is going to take you some time. Now I want you to take as much time as you need to fill this thing out in the best way you know how. And imagine that it's a full spectrum of agree to disagree. So on the left there it's agree, on the right it's disagree.
And just check marks is how it works.
Yeah, you can mark it however you want. If you want to make notes, however you want to do it. It's a full spectrum of agree to disagree. However, there's one thing I want to point out, that if there's a statement, imagine someone else is saying all of those statements.
Mm-hmm.
So you're hearing someone else say it, right? And so you're judging that person's ability to assess their mental tool to figure things out. Each one of those are mental tools to figure out what's true. And you're assessing whether or not that tool is a good one. And if you think that it might be a good tool, but you can't think of any, or if it's a good or a bad tool, but you can't think of any examples to counter that tool, then that might put you in the strong category.
Strongly disagree or strongly.
Yeah. So that it'll push you probably to a stronger portion of the edge.
Say that one more time.
So if you can't come up with an example of something that counters those examples, that probably makes you strongly convicted in the thing. And if you can think
Either
of
way,
both,
convicted.
if you can think of examples for both, that probably makes you more neutral.
Okay.
And if the statement doesn't even make coherent sense to you, you can just say NA, doesn't apply.
Okay.
Or maybe it's an incoherent statement, and in that case I would want to know why you think that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so take your time.
I'm going to
filling that out.
verbalize because it helps me think. I have to hear my words to think, so that's how I'm going to do this.
Okay. Okay.
It drove
Sure.
teachers crazy in high school.
Sure.
Truth is that which best matches external reality. Truth is that which best matches external reality. I mean, that's on the agree side, but in the middle, truth matches external reality. Pretty strongly agree.
I'm probably going to edit this whole part out where you fill this out. So I'm going to go use the restroom and yeah, take
So
your
I pick my
time.
nose?
If you want
Should I
to,
pick my nose then, right now?
well, you never know. I'm probably going to keep the things in there if it's good. The camera's still rolling.
People experience the same reality and only interpret it differently. Definitely. Yeah. Possible that some of my beliefs are not true. Absolutely. Is that it?
That's it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Look at that. Awesome. Yeah. Very.
How's that look?
It's. Well, actually, I want to know what you think about this survey.
Pretty
What
good.
are your thoughts
I
in
think
general?
it's pretty good. And I think you're going to continue to grow the survey. I can't.
This
really-
is so. I didn't make
can't-
this survey. Somebody else
made that.
Made the survey.
I feel like you would have made that.
When I found it, I felt like maybe I did. I was like, "Holy crap!"
Maybe in another life. Maybe in another reality.
I thought you didn't believe in reincarnation.
Belief is nothing to do with it.
Okay. Yeah. Because we could be believing something isn't true, and it could be.
That's
Okay, because belief and the truth are different in that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's why I think it's great that you ticked strongly agree on everything about when we should change our minds, and that's not very typical of people who do the survey for the first time.
Really?
I've had people do the survey multiple times, and the second or third time, that's when they're all over.
Interesting.
Um,
Well, I've had a lifetime of recovering from dogma.
Yeah, so let's go into that really quick. I want to I know you have a very fascinating history with it, with Mormonism.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of want to touch on the truth of Mormonism and how you grew up with that ideology all around you and how that affected your life. Would you say that idea in people's heads was for a net positive or net negative for your quality of life? What do you think? That's a tough one. So take your time.
It's fairly balanced for numerous reasons. It cultivates a lot of shame. It protects abusers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, their truth of how you ascend in the eternities is on your works in this mortal life. So it makes people believe that you must be actually good to your neighbor, that you must actually serve your fellow man.
Do you think that people are more likely to not be nice to their neighbor if they don't have these ideas about the Mormon God existing?
No, because it's.
So you think it's encouraging
I'm going to
people?
say this word here. I kind of believe in eternal truths, as defined as in it's not just a religious truth, but it's a scientific, human, universal truth. Maybe that's it. The universal truths of good and positive energy and what could be defined as bad or negative energy and how you behave. And so it's not a requirement to have a belief system in a higher deity to be a good neighbor, but being in a community of people who actually give a shit about their neighbors and their family and believe that we're all actually spiritual brothers and sisters and physical genetic brothers and sisters keeps you from being an unkind to the people around you. So like our community now, it's like Burning Man community, it's an incredible fellowship, but it's so much open that there isn't room for people to, I mean there is, it happens, but to hide violence. When in a lot of the Christian religions, and then Mormonism is a offshoot of Christian Americana, and so therefore you can go and talk to your bishop or priest and unload on some sins. So I've beaten my children, or I've done some things, or I'm cheating on my wife, and it allows them to get that off their chest without the consequences of actually doing something real about it, as in protecting victims. And so then the cycle of violence continues.
So those are reasons for it to be a net negative. Am I understanding you?
Yeah. That's why I'm like, wow, there's a net
Are there any... Okay, I'll rephrase the question to be a bit more specific to what I'm trying to get at, I guess. Are there any positive qualities about holding this idea of Mormonism being true that cannot be attained by not holding the ideas of Mormonism being true?
Absolutely not, because all the things that were done in action, as in having the youth in Boy Scouts, it trained me to be a self-sufficient, independent human being that realized I can rely on myself. And if shit hits the fan, I'm going to live.
Boy Scouts are a net positive.
Super net positive.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And
really
they and
it's part of their youth group.
Okay, so the pursuit of being in the Boy Scouts potentially has benefits that one can obtain
without it.
That if you hadn't gone to be a Boy Scout, you probably wouldn't have these net positive things. Are there any things like that for believing in Mormonism?
Say that again.
Are there any qualities that are beneficial? Like I'm juxtaposing those two ideas. So you can join the Boy Scouts, right? And you can learn a bunch of things that you wouldn't know before you join the Boy Scouts, maybe, right? Maybe you could learn them outside of the Boy Scouts. Let's just say that. But let's just say...
But you're kind of forced into it, which also I disagree with, because force is violence. And if you don't want to do it, well, you don't really have much of a choice as a 12-year-old in the religion. You
if you're not forced and it's just your own volition, are there things that you can gain from being a Mormon that you couldn't obtain outside of being a Mormon?
I don't really know. I mean, there's a lot of like deeper doctrine.
I'm basically testing the idea that there's anything good at all about being a Mormon, essentially. Aside from just living your life.
Just being a good person to each other, because they actually practice it compared to what, in my opinion, from what I've viewed in... I didn't grow up in Utah. I grew up here in Oregon. So I was kind of like, to lack of a better word, I was like the Jew.
Mm-hmm. You were an outsider.
Absolutely. And you get picked on, ostracized, set apart. And it was brutal. I was beat up because of it.
That's another negative, it seems.
Huge.
Yeah.
But it also gave me strength. That's like net positives. These things that
it was a character building exercise to be an outsider. Okay.
Here's an actual scripture that's part of Mormon scripture. I mean, they believe in the Bible just as much as anybody else, but part of their like other books that add to proving the Bible's true. One of the things they say is that all these things that happen to us in life, I'm super ad-libbing, but because I'm not going to memorize that crap. But all these things that happen to you are for your good. These trials, these things that are hard in life, are what
everything happens. Everything happens for a reason.
Maybe it's not for a reason, but it makes you a better and stronger person in the future. I know now I have armor on me and strength that many other people do not have because of the hard times I had in life. And a lot of those hard times happened because I happened to be born into a family that practiced this religion. And so there's good things about character and being a good person and being part of the human family and honor thy neighbor, and honor thy father, and all those like Christian things. It's all in the same camp. It's not specifically Mormon. But then being raised as a Mormon was a negative / positive because it put me apart in such a way where I was, the poor kid that played the flute named Abram that's Mormon, and I'm a new kid in a rural school in Oregon. That was character building.
Yeah.
And I look back grateful, but at the same time angry.
Yeah, and why did you... what happened to make you no longer believe it was true?
Well, I never really believed it was true.
Ah, okay.
I was brainwashed.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Were you ever convinced, though, that it was probably more true than not true?
No, because you're constantly in repetition mode. Constantly of, I believe this is true. So
you wouldn't say that you ever believed it?
Well, there's parts that I believed, and there's parts that I even still hold to.
Okay.
Like,
So you
feel
pick and choose?
Oh, absolutely.
You pick and choose the things that you liked?
And it keeps changing. Well, at the time, I kind of did, but the lack of faith in certain things causes guilt and shame. And then growing up, now that I'm discovering more about Eastern philosophies and like religions of forever and Egyptian, Sumerian, and Hinduism and a lot of spiritualism in the whole world and the whole history of humanity, I start noticing all these parallels. And then I'm like, well, where did they come from? Well, they come from even deeper back and farther back, and where did those even come from? And so I'm like, is it true? Well, probably not, but at least it explains my schema, my like knee-jerk reaction to feel like there is a Father in heaven and of some sort, like a source, a creator that somehow scientifically, mathematically, in my opinion, made creation happen through some... Here's a big change. I used to believe or hope that there was an omnipotent God, an omnipotent Father in heaven. And through my struggle and heartbreak, getting kicked out of the church because I was sleeping with the love of my life in my 20s, I got excommunicated. And I actually laughed when they delivered the paper to my house. I'm like, okay. But it was such a relief. It gave me like allowed me to start this path of becoming an individual and discovering truth for myself, not truth for what I'm told. Because all I know about truth is from my point of view in my life. All I know that's true is what I've witnessed from the moment of my awakening in consciousness as a human, whenever that was as a child, till now. That's all I know for truth. And I believe even that's for you. The only truth that you actually can know for a fact, is your own perception in your timeline in your life. Everything else is conjecture and someone else's possible beliefs. It doesn't even matter if you can prove it scientifically in front of you. It's still
so what
someone
I'm hearing you
else's.
say is all I can know for sure are things that I have seen and be convinced of. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean everything else is just someone else's opinion.
Okay.
Even if it's scientifically truth for fact, because it's been proven scientifically through the scientific process. But these processes, we know, continue to change and evolve, and we continue to find, wow, there's this happening. So it kind of, we used to think this for 50 years. Now we're like, well, there's actually other possibilities.
Can I throw out a hypothetical?
For sure.
If you had a box of truth that you could, kind of like Pandora's box, except for without unforeseen consequences, really, I suppose, because we would know what the consequences are, or we would like to think we know. But if we open this box of truth to answer this question about Mormonism or a higher power, I guess Mormonism, let's just stick with that for now. Would you want to give that box, and you could open it and it would just give you the answer, and one of those answers includes potentially that it's not there at all. The whole point, though, is that the box does give you the truth, and it pushes you in the correct direction. Would you yourself want to look into it?
For sure.
Okay. Would you want to give that box to your family?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm ready to actually stand up.
So let me ask really
and
quick.
say some things that I've never said before to my family.
Okay.
Which I've never said. I've always kept it to myself for years.
Why would you want to give them the box?
Well, because I think that, for example, my mother could find a caring husband outside of the Mormon religion because she's holding herself in a box. This is her dating pool. And it's a bunch of Mormon dicks.
Okay, so she's basically...
There's a lot of great people out there that she could be
limiting herself.
super limited, and it's upsetting to me.
Yeah.
That like she could even remain a faithful member, but there could be some great people out there for her to meet, and she limits herself that way. And now that I'm becoming...
So the belief itself seems to constrain behaviors.
Absolutely. Oh, and that's a whole thing. The whole religion is about restraint.
Okay.
No drinking, no tobacco, no tea.
Yeah.
Sex before marriage, exploring yourself.
And some restraints may be a character building exercise, or some of the restraints may be positive to some.
A lot of philosophies of meditation and Buddhism and Hinduism, where you are, and even in like all these religions, restrain yourself because the higher truth isn't necessarily because it's going to make you go to heaven. It's to be a better person now.
If that's true,
can keep you from being an alcoholic.
So if that's true, does that truth exist? Truth about how to build your character and how to be a better person, does that exist outside of the belief in any God or anyone?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if that truth exists independent, it seems as though, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's no benefits, it seems, with this idea that cannot be attained outside of this idea, and the truth of the benefits that one can get that the idea teaches can be found independently of the idea itself. Is there anything good about it?
Well,
is there anything good about believing anything that's not true at all? And this is just broadly speaking.
Yes, because I think it gets people the kind of habits that can be beneficial. So I think on here there was a prayer, or no, the other one, the checklist. There was a prayer. So for example, prayer. I never had faith in prayer. It was always to me, super silly. And we had to pray. You're supposed to wake up and have your own prayer in the morning. And then you pray before each meal, even on your own or with your family. And then, of course, the opening and the closing of meetings and ceremonies were in prayer. Even before you're on a long drive, okay, let's have a prayer together for safety or whatever. So the faith in that to me seemed ridiculous. Now, a benefit to that.
Can I get your definition for faith?
The faith is a belief in something that's unproven, not seen.
Not unproven and not seen.
It's not seen. It's something that's a belief that's something that is not seen, and that's
belief in something that's not seen.
Yeah, faith is a belief in like is prayer can prayer be proven? No. The point where I brought the prayer up is because now in my life I am experiencing prayer in a different way. Giving thanks and gratitude and saying, we know now that if you say a mantra 108 times, we can actually measure your brain reacting certain ways. And it causing you to have I can't remember the words, the chemicals that help the serotonin levels rise and things that really help you have a sense of peace. Or in what I'm witnessing in my life, where I dealt with anxiety and depression caused by trauma and different things, and just being a human being, when I can stop and meditate and repeat, just simply like, I am love, I am love, I am love. I am grateful for this, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. These outward acts of prayer, but I don't consider it prayer anymore. I consider it just affirmations and repeating it. Well, prayer is nothing more. Step out put the spirituality aside, saying it has to be prayer to God, but just the act of saying.
Is prayer the same thing as a mantra?
It's close.
Okay.
It's close because you're actually what you're
doing. Is what you're doing really a mantra?
I don't even know what's a mantra. It's an idea. I mean, I don't know. It's an idea of saying things over and over again, or
let me put it like this: is it
Hold on, let me finish what I'm trying to say.
Okay, sure.
The Christian prayers that came from Jesus Christ's story of the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer, how I was raised, you don't repeat the Lord's Prayer, but it's an example on how to pray. So we give thanks, and then you're giving thanks for things, and then you're asking for guidance or help. And now, I actually believe now, I don't believe in that, but I do believe that just saying it, whether you're saying it to yourself or just to the ether, show me the way. I am tired of the struggle, and I really just want my life to work out. And I'm confused, just saying it. I'm confused on what to do with my life, and I really just want to continue walking on a path that leads me to good things and to my purpose in this life. And what is my purpose? Just saying, what is my purpose? And then at the same time, or a different time, saying, I am really grateful for things. I'm grateful for my healthy body. I am, even when you are in an unhealthy space within your body, but just saying I am grateful for my healing in my body can give within yourself the momentum and the strength to actually heal. And so if it makes you feel better, then it is a benefit. But does it need to be based on, does it need to be true? In my point of view, it seems to be true.
Okay. If it is true, that's good. If it's not true, is that good?
If it's not true, I think it's true. I think it's good to actively verbalize gratitude and to just ask. Doesn't mean ask God, but just say, help.
Yeah.
And then that could be from within.
Okay.
So you're asking yourself, help yourself. So something I've been doing now is I bless my future self. Okay, Abram, tomorrow, have a great day. You're going to have a great day. Next year, have a good year. And if I continue to do that, and this is actually an ancient, like, Eastern philosophy of meditation, where if you're daily blessing tomorrow's self and the days after that, each day, past self is blessing you. So each day it folds into this combination of past me doing me favors today. Mm-hmm. For example, something that's tangible. So if I'm actually saying that, it brings up to your awareness to do good things for yourself, to not drink so much that night. Or, for example, I shove a little $100 bill and actually hide it from myself. I try to forget, but I shove it in a very secret spot in my wallet. So by the way, everybody, I have a secret spot where I shove a $100 bill in my wallet. Because sometimes future me gets in a position where, like, oops, ooh, I need a cab. Or I'm on a date and I ran out of money. Or, you know what I mean? Or I just...
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy for blessing future self. Now, is that prayer? Well, it's prayer that takes action.
Would it be a blessing if you lost it and never found it again?
It could be. Could be.
It could be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because someone may find that $100 bill and it might change their life. Or it might help them buy a blanket. Or it might just help them get fucked up one night on a free $100 bill. Mm-hmm. Did that hurt me? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily, but it helped somebody else. And helping somebody else really could actually help me or the people around me, whether it was an accident or on purpose.
So if you happen to coincidentally lose the $100 from your wallet and somebody else found it, that could benefit them. But what's different? So how is that scenario different than if you just gave $100 to someone?
Well, it is different in that I could feel better by giving it away by my choice.
So it might even be better if it's like considered to be charity or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Altruism.
Okay.
I think that is how we heal the world, instead of bitching and moaning about the powers that be to save the world or to give to people that are in need. Yeah. Just give a blanket yourself and be a good person.
So we're just kind of spitballing here, but I do want to kind of move forward to the workshop part.
Well, you're the one in charge. I'm just talking. So.
Oh, well, I'm just listening. Yeah. Which one, if you had to pick 3 of these things that you thought either are the most true compared to all the others on the list, or that if you discovered that they weren't true, would change your life the most?
Okay, so
of the ones that you selected.
The ones that I selected.
Yeah, which ones are the most true?
The most true.
Or would impact your life the most if you discovered that it wasn't?
Okay. The most true.
Actually, let's just go with the second one. If it would impact your life the most to discover that it wasn't the case.
Cool.
Tell me those ones.
The law of attraction.
Okay.
Free will.
Uh-huh. Okay.
If it wasn't true, that would affect my life the most. A higher power, karma, law of attraction, prayer works, free will, definition, we have souls, non-material energy, magic works, acupuncture, everything happens for a reason. Karma. I don't know.
Take your time. I can't believe I have to pee again, so I'm gonna go pee.
Let me sip some of this tea. So, will you say both questions one more time? Because then that's going to help me understand.
Sure, yeah. Basically, what I'm trying to do is... So, we have beliefs about these things, right? Or these are commonly held beliefs.
Yeah.
So, if you were to discover that one of these ideas, or 3 of these ideas, were not true...
Yeah.
Pick the ones that would impact your life, your mind, and or your behavior the most. That would change your life the most if you found out that they weren't true.
Magic works if they weren't true. Everything happens for a reason. Okay. Cool. I'll have that for you.
Yeah, thanks.
If they weren't true. So I'm actually going to unclick things as I go because I'm having a really hard time. Okay.
Sure. That's fine.
If it doesn't really matter to me either way about magic working or acupuncture, non-material energy, we have souls, evolution is misunderstood, climate change is a non-issue to me, free will, prayer works, law of attraction, karma, higher power can also go, karma. I mean,
now, did the higher power go because you don't think it's true?
No, because I don't think it matters either way.
Because you don't think it matters, but you think it's true.
I believe in source.
If you discovered that it wasn't true and you looked in that box, and the box showed you something that you would need to see to be convinced it wasn't the case, that wouldn't change your life very much?
Mm.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't. Because it's...
Okay.
It wouldn't at all.
Okay.
Not whatsoever. No.
Sure.
Because...
Does that mean that you don't believe it's true very much? You think it's true, but maybe you're somewhere...
I believe in source. I've had very...
So you believe it, but you're not convinced that not believing it would change your mind very much.
It wouldn't change me
about how you behave.
No, it wouldn't change how I behave.
Okay. I'm just gauging how you see the belief.
I believe in source. I don't know if that means...
Do you mind if we talk about it a bit? Okay, so can you check it again then?
Okay.
And leave it checked, but what I like to do is juxtapose that.
Karma affects my behavior, because if I believe in karma, then I don't want to... If the karma goes... Well, I mean, karma, and maybe define how I understand it from kind of an ignorant perspective, because I don't necessarily have studied karma or was raised in the belief in karma, but
I think we have our four ideas.
The actions of your life affect your life.
I think we have our four ideas.
And there's a cause and effect.
Yeah. Do you mind if I...
Prayer works, I mean, kind of, but the way I define prayer is differently now. But yeah, free will, karma, non-material energy. We have souls. I mean, I those are pretty... I mean, I've had some... almost like everything happens for a reason. Finding purpose in life is more than just me wanting to be, I'm now in a discovery mode of my purpose, but there could be truly reasons why we are going through what we're going through.
There could be. No.
And I have had some experiences that have just shook my soul and woke and make me, and it's not from my dogmatic brainwashing, it's from my life.
Is it possible that it is and you're unaware of it?
Is it possible what?
That it is from the dogmatic upbringing?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's why I love talking to you and love you, because you do appear to me to be a very open-minded person. Oh, yeah. And whenever I ask you, because I've asked you that question before, like hundreds of times, could it not be the case? And you've always been like, yeah. Which is why I like talking to you, because there are some people that are like, no, it can't be. They don't have the imagination to understand what it could be to be the other way. And I think that you entertain the idea.
I really truly believe that we could have been created by... like some Mormons believe in God as a physical being.
Okay.
They believe that he is a physical being. So the eternal, for the actual like creator that is like created all of the universe and all the universes. Is it that personage? Could be, but maybe even then, there could be even a higher creator.
God could have a god.
Yes. And also, I know. And,
oh boy!
But maybe we were really created by this physical being, and it really wasn't like the source is source, because it could be this eternal creation that's eternal, and we are created by this somehow physical being that mixed DNA to create humans.
Is it also possible that there was
true.
never a creation and has always been?
This has always been, yes, absolutely, actually.
And there was never a beginning, and this is all there is, and
there's never been there's never been a creation. It's been an eternal process that's always been.
It's possible. So
but these are all, I don't really know, and I never will know, and good. I'm not going to convince anybody else. I'm not going to convince anyone of otherwise.
Number 20, you were comfortable with saying you don't know.
That's great. All I know is I don't know.
Okay. All right.
And the more I learn, the more I know I don't know shit.
So I feel like we're going a bit long here in the
Well, let me say this then one more time.
Okay.
I believe this universe is filled with limitless possibilities. And that's a very open statement, but it's the only truth that I feel I know. And I'm not going to argue with someone about some of their stupid beliefs.
Okay.
And I say that actually kind of in a pretentious way, but I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to say it could be true.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm going to allow them to be that way as long as they're not hurting other people or blowing people up in the name of their God, or being an abuser to their wife or children, and then because of their God, going to their priest, repenting of it, and then not being turned into the police. So therefore, belief systems can all stand on their own in any crazy way they want, as long as you're not hurting other people.
If everyone started caring about believing in true things, and everyone started really working hard to understand the way we look at the way we think in order to resolve all of our differences of fact, would the world be a better place?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think I understood your question. I might have answered that.
You want to repeat the question back? Or try to?
I would have a hard time, so that's why I'm asking you to repeat the question.
Sure, yeah. If everyone... So, like, these are tools to look at the way we look at the way we assess what's true, right? Mm-hmm. And if everyone cared a lot about the way we determine what's real in order to resolve our differences of fact, of factually true things, would the world be a better place?
Of course it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, of course it would be a better place.
Okay.
Because we would be communicating instead of fighting.
Yeah, we'd be communicating instead of fighting. Do you think that if we tried using these principles, maybe, or just talking about epistemology in general, the pathway?
What's epistemology?
So epistemology is the study of knowledge.
Okay.
And so this whole workshop is about the study of knowledge and how we assess what it is we think is the case. Or true, or factually real. Okay. And if everybody were concerned with only having true beliefs in their head and not any false beliefs, as few false beliefs as possible, or beliefs that they cannot know to be true, would the world be a better place?
I don't know.
Okay, that's an honest question, honest answer.
Because it all could be true and it all could be false, and I think it's okay because we can't. There's a lot of things we can't prove. Like,
if we can't prove something, should we conclude anything?
There shouldn't be a conclusion. No.
Okay.
There should be an ongoing.
Is a belief?
There should be an ongoing, open-minded discussion about the possibilities of the mysteries of the universe.
Is a belief a conclusion?
No,
it's not.
It is to many people, but I don't believe a belief is a conclusion. A belief is just a belief. It's just faith. Back to that word, faith. It's just
faith is
a hope. It's a hope.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but faith is a way to determine what's true.
Faith is hope in a belief is something that isn't proven.
Yeah, belief in something not seen.
Yeah, like hope. Faith is hope in belief in things that are unseen.
Yeah,
I guess by my.
So epistemology. So let me go over the word epistemology one more time. To me, it's the pathway. Imagine a path to arrive to a conclusion.
Sure.
So it's like a hike, right? And before you hear a claim, I believe, okay, so I'm going to introduce the scale of confidence, because we're going to talk about that for a little bit here for these 4 ideas. The scale of confidence, to me, is instead of thinking of our ideas as binary, as true, false, it puts it on a scale instead.
Yes.
And here's what the scale is to me. Think of percentages, like a pie chart or something. Or maybe a scale, between 2 extremes, where 0 is ignorance of the claim. So, like, let's say the Mormon God is true, is the claim. Well, if no one's ever heard it, then we would be at a 0 on the scale, because we've just never heard it before. And then as soon as you hear the idea, you're at a 1 on the scale. And that's because you understand the sentence, and it makes coherent sense, but you don't know how to doubt it anymore. In other words, you're just filled with questions about it. You don't hold the belief whatsoever because it's absolute doubt. 1 is absolute doubt. And then the more you consider it, the more you imagine it to be true, the higher up you go in the 10% range, and then the more evidence you build, the higher up you go on the scale until you reach 100. And when you're at 100, you're closed-minded to being wrong about it. You're holding so tightly to this idea, you can't imagine.
100 would only be that you actually see God. Therefore, it's just a belief.
That would be your assessment of the scale, and that's great. However, there are many people who I've interviewed who are at 100 about all sorts of stuff that they've never seen.
Of course. I know.
So to
many
me,
of them.
it's just to me, confidence is the end result of being convinced. Like
yes,
you are convinced, and then confidence is the feeling associated with having been convinced that it's true.
Sure.
Okay, so knowing that scale, that the scale works this way.
Okay.
Where are you on a higher power? Between 0 is ignorant of the idea, the whole concept. You've never heard it before. And 1 is all you have are questions, and you couldn't possibly be any more doubtful about that thing. And then the higher up you go on the scale, the more confident that you think it is true, factually true. And 100% is you just can't be wrong about it. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, before we go into a higher power, it's good that we have this scale. I want to know the things that you don't think are true. So,
sounds good.
The first one is you don't believe Jesus Christ is a demigod, which is
I mean, that's what I was raised to believe, that
Jesus,
that God the Father came down and impregnated Mary.
There's lots of people that are at 100.
I'm
sure you've met them.
Well, of course, I know many people. And
where are you on the scale?
I'm like at a 1.
You couldn't possibly question it anymore?
Okay, then I'm misunderstanding the scale then.
So, So 1...
I thought...
think of it as a percentage. It's a percentage, yeah. You have... 1 means all you have are questions.
All I have is questions.
Okay, so you're a 1?
And if I believe that there is a God, then there is a chance that these stories could
1 also means you don't.
But I just don't believe it.
Yeah. So you're at a 1. Okay.
No, there's the story. That story has been told and retold through millennia.
Yeah.
And it goes back to some worship in Egyptology and even further, to Sumerian's times and even further, and to the unknown past that we don't even know. And so I'm just going to cast doubt, and that's okay.
Okay.
And
What about reincarnation?
I think it's I don't know.
We're just exercising.
I don't know.
So don't be too concerned about the number exactly. It's just what I'm doing when I'm challenging you.
Sure.
It's just playful exercise of where we are on our scale of confidence.
On a scale of a percentage to 0% to 100%.
Yeah.
That.
No, you wouldn't be able to say 0 because you're not ignorant of it.
I'm not ignorant of it.
Yeah.
But I think I think it's a possibility.
Mention it because
I think it's a possibility that we are as souls, as our astral or eternal self, our consciousness.
You can imagine it being the case.
I could imagine that our eternal consciousness that is, I think, exists. Because I think there's more than this physical meat sack. that it is a good chance that it slips back in and out of mortality.
Where are you on the scale?
Personally, I kind of think this is it. This is the one.
Can you give it a number?
Like a 25% chance that it's true.
25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's definitely there, but it just, to me, it's, we're coming into this mortality, and we're eternal light beings trapped in mortality, and that's one reason why we're so uncomfortable and trapped and feel crazy, because we're like stuck in temporal time when we're not even supposed to be, and so reincarnation could be part of that progression to becoming higher.
So we're getting a little long-winded.
I don't know, man.
I just want to know the number.
I don't know.
It's all good.
So 25% that.
Okay.
But it's low.
All right.
But it's in my
Let's
realm
move on
of ideas.
to the next one.
Sure.
Astrology.
Astrology is like super low.
Okay.
Super low.
You
like,
have an idea of what?
Like 10%.
10.
I think it is.
10%.
I think there is something to be said about it. But I think it's super unknown. Like it's just so. It's not what I think the people that believe in it so strongly. I don't think it's that. I think there's other explanations that have to do with it.
Okay.
So it's very low in how it is defined and thought of by astrologers. I think there's other ways of viewing it. So I think there is a chance.
So just so you know, I want to check in with you about timing. We haven't even started the survey yet, and we're probably already an hour in, and
So
no one will watch a 3-hour talk. Okay, so we're gonna have to cruise through.
You can edit things too.
Maybe I will. We'll see. But the thing is everything you said so far is gold. So I don't want to.
Thank you. I don't know.
So
I don't really know. I just trying to be honest.
Yeah. No, I mean it's genuine. It's all very genuine. It's because we've known each other for so long. But okay. So now let's go into the things that you do think are more likely the case than not.
Okay.
Law of attraction.
I feel.
Actually, wait, hold on. Let's do higher power since I started with that first. Yeah. How about higher power?
Like 80%.
80. Okay.
Yeah.
Law of attraction.
Like 99%.
99. Really convicted. Okay.
It has been proven to me to work almost like magic.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Free will.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, or 99% because it could be proven to me wrong if I opened that truth box, and I'd be willing to change my point of view. But I think free will is something that is a universal truth that can restrain us. If we have an understanding of free will, then it can keep us from. It can help us be better people. I don't know.
Okay. So. Karma.
Like 20%. Maybe.
20.
Or karma. I think karma is more of an actual
20,
rule.
20%?
More like 50% because I think it is kind of like cause and effect. Karma to me is more like cause and effect. Like there's consequences for the things that you do and say, and sometimes it might not be immediate. It just eventually could come back to get you in some way.
Gotcha. Okay.
In some way. It doesn't mean like it's going to be I did something wrong and then 100 and then 50 years from now karma comes back to bite me, as defined by karma as we know it, but it's just I think it's cause and effect. I think it's back to the free will, and if you do something, it's going to come back to get you in some way.
Gotcha.
Just like the law of attraction is putting the energy out, and if you're going to put a bunch of energy out that's positive, being grateful and trying to focusing on the good in my life, and then you're going to receive more good. Well, also at the same time, karma is that in that way that if you're putting out the good comes back. If you're putting out the negative and the dark is going to come back. So I think it's kind of an equal. It kind of coincides together in a way, I guess.
If you were to discover that any one of these things, or maybe even all of them, were not the case, would you want to know?
Sure, of course, I would want to know.
Yeah, you're an open-minded person, I'd say. It's pretty open-minded of you. Yeah. You would want to look in the box that answers the question.
I want to know.
What's in the box?
I am on that journey in my life.
Yeah, okay.
And I think I've been on that journey for quite a while now. And long before Burning Man, I was on that journey. I had some psilocybin experiences. back in the day that kind of gave me some awakenings to help me overcome depression and anxieties, but also then have me feel like, oh, we're all one, and maybe there's more truth out there than what I've been taught to believe.
Okay, yeah.
And so part of those experiences have...
And that includes letting go of ideas we have.
That's
not
a big
just,
part of it.
Not just
that's the
holding on to new ideas.
No, that's it. It's letting go.
Letting go of ideas.
Release
Okay.
these trapped dogmatic beliefs to the possibility of more.
Yeah,
and the possibility
it's like
of
furniture in your room, and if the furniture doesn't belong there, you can like kick it out, put some better furniture in, maybe.
Of course.
And so like ideas in this analogy are kind of like furniture here. Okay.
Yeah, I like new furniture. I like having things in order and in good furniture. Now I've had to learn that because I was much of more of a sloppy, unorganized human, but there's reasons for that. I now know that why.
If you were to discover that you had no good reasons to be holding any one of these, or let's say, not these things in particular, but if you had any belief at all, and you discovered that there were no reliable reasons to be holding that idea, would you then let go of that idea?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I can. Of course.
Okay. All right.
Of course.
Yeah, and you often investigate beliefs that do not match your own. You're comfortable with saying you don't know. It's beneficial when you find out you're wrong about something. You abandon a belief if you discover reliable information that falsifies it. You look for more information before you just accept things as true, and it's possible that some of your beliefs are not true. I pretty much slightly tested all of those things just in the last little bit, and you
I didn't know that. I
passed all of the tests.
I didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah, I was essentially doing that. Yeah, a little piece by piece is what I was doing there. Yeah,
right on.
And you did it in conversation, which is different than just reading it and telling yourself that you're there. But you actually answered. You're consistent. It seems. Yeah, and that. So that's what this whole process is essentially: is me testing you with questions to see if you're truly where you think you are. And that one is probably the best place to start when we should change our minds, which is ironic because it's the end of the list here. And we kind of also talked about truth in general and the value of truth and what it means to us. So, great. So I'm going to move on to the next stage here, and I'm going to talk about number one, because I think everything that I'm doing here with this workshop hinges on number one. I will just admit straight out that if you, Mark, agree, and I'm also strongly agree to number one, truth is that which best matches external reality. Now, if we are wrong about this, everything I'm doing is probably undermined here.
Sure.
But to me, number four, people create words and we define what they mean. You will agree and I agree as well. And we invented the word truth as an idea, a social construct that you and I agree about.
It's an idea, just like all words are ideas. And in Spanish, it's verdad.
Sure.
It's just a word.
Verdad.
Verdad. Like
Verdad.
V-E-R-D-A-D. Verdad.
Cool.
It means truth.
It's good to know.
So it's just, words are just ideas that are symbols that we translate in our brain, and then we define them in certain ways, and it all could be not true.
Yeah. Exactly. So just to be really clear, because it's really important that we're super clear on number one, truth is that which best matches external reality, meaning a description. Because words imperfectly always describe the external world. The way I like this analogy, I'm going to throw this analogy out there. To me, our beliefs or our minds are like maps, and the truth is like the globe or the earth itself. Yeah. The truth is like the earth itself.
The belief is the map, and the truth is actually the planet.
The thing.
Like you're floating in space and you're staring at it. That's the truth. But a globe in my tabletop is the belief, so to speak.
Say that again?
The globe at the tabletop, the map, the globe on the tabletop, is the belief.
Yes.
But being an astronaut staring down at the sphere of the round globe planet and seeing it is the truth.
So I would say to that analogy that person, that astronaut, is using an epistemology or a pathway to make a map by going into space and making the most accurate map we can, because they have the widest field of view.
So we have Google Maps.
So
now
to
that's
me,
mapped by...
the only thing that's the truth in this analogy is the planet.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you wanted perfect truth or 100% certainty about a thing, wouldn't it be a replica of the planet, which would not qualify as a map because it would be a replica?
So what's a replica? Like
a replica is a copy.
An actual copy of the Earth?
Yeah, like if we were to just like if we had omnipotent powers and we could just make a copy of Earth in this analogy, this is metaphor. Okay.
Yeah. I love metaphor. That's how I communicate.
Okay, good.
That's how I see the world. That's how I see it.
It's a good way, I think, to get this point about truth across, from my understanding. And I may not have the right understanding, but the truth to me is the planet, and our ideas are mapping what that planet looks like, what the truth is. And we could be wrong about that thing, and there are some maps that are better than other maps, and some maps that are missing whole continents, and some maps that are inserting continents where there are none there, right? And in either case, what we're trying to do is make the most perfect map we can make. And that's truth, right? That's knowledge. Knowledge is what we are certain is the case, that our maps are accurate and helpful in navigating the world.
Yeah.
Would you say
okay.
that's...
Yeah.
Is there
now
anything
I'm following. I have been following, but I'm understanding what you're saying.
Great.
So,
is there anything about this analogy that you have questions about or that you don't?
No.
Okay, great.
It makes sense.
So I just wanted to...
clear.
Yeah, great. Good. Because if I'm not clear about number one, then I have to just do my best to be clear about that. So I think you and I are in full agreement about number one, so then we can proceed down the list here.
Okay.
Okay. If that's the case, number two, people experience the same reality and only interpret it differently.
Okay.
Are you and I in the same reality?
We might not be.
We might not be.
I mean, I'm sitting here from my point of reference, and my reality is being interpreted from my past, and I can only identify things and see things that I recognize from my past. If I've never been to the ocean and never seen seashells, and I look up at this painting in art, I wouldn't.
I made that.
I would. It's beautiful. I wouldn't see seashells. They wouldn't. In my vision, would actually be invisible. It just would be. It would be this texture, and I'd be like, "What are those?" So you sitting there, you can see the world from your point of view. And so
I see.
we're experiencing, all experiencing a different reality. We're all experiencing
our minds
our own reality.
need context to make sense of the world.
And that's our reality. And so we're all coming from a different point of view and a different experience. So I think we're all in a different reality. So therefore, that's why it's like,
so to you,
reality, to have a
reality,
different point of view.
To you, reality means one's worldview? Or one's context about...
Context.
It's context, okay. If we were to change that definition of reality for the purposes of just analyzing number two, people experience the same reality and only interpret it differently. If we were to redefine reality here to just say people experience the same... If we were to lump in our environment... like the world around us, our environment, the space you and I share, and lump in the laws of physics into that category of things. So it's environment plus how that environment behaves and acts. And if we define reality to be that instead, would you then agree to number two?
I don't know how to answer this question.
It's a lot of words.
I'm trying to listen.
It's a lot of words. The whole thing's going to be like this, sorry. So, okay, here's you love analogies. You love analogies. Let's do one of those. Okay, so Mario Kart. I think you and I have even played Mario Kart before together.
Yeah.
So if we're playing Mario
Do that
Kart,
soon.
of course, anytime, I'm down. As long as I get to be Toad, it's the fastest. So if we're playing Mario Kart, and you're player 1 and I'm player 2. Let's say you're in first place.
Okay.
Are you in first place in the same level on the same game? Are we playing? If we're playing together,
Okay.
and I'm player 2, are we playing in the same level?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We're playing the same level.
Yeah, and you're in first place ahead of me.
And we're on the same level.
Yeah. Okay. You're experiencing the level as we go through, and you may get into first place and then fall back into last because you get hit by a shell, and then you go back into first because you get a lightning bolt, right? And there's all these different things that you can do to interact with that environment. Are we playing the same level on the same game, on the same console, on the same TV?
Yes.
And then if we zoom out more, are you and I in the same room? If we're on the same console, are we in the same room sharing?
Yes.
Okay. Our environment. Are we experiencing the same game, just interpreting the game differently? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're on different positions in the game, so...
Yeah, and if you win first place in the game, I can interpret second place differently, or I can interpret your winning differently. But would you concede that there's only one end result? The game only gives one result as to who won the game, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you and I completely see eye to eye on this one. If we defined reality to be the game, would you then shift from there to...
Let's see. People experience the same reality.
And only interpret it differently.
Yeah, okay.
Would you shift?
See, now I'm understanding number 2 better.
Only because...
Actually. Because of Mario Kart. But
people create words and define what they mean. So if you define reality as something else, then we can check somewhere else. But if we redefine reality to be the game that you and I are playing, you would shift to strongly agree.
I just think people experience reality differently.
Yeah.
And some people have mental disorders and imbalances, or they're induced by some intoxicant that has them experience reality differently.
Okay.
So it's a scale on that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we agree on that if we're playing the same game, we're experiencing the same reality. So are we really experiencing the same reality? Are we really in the same game? I mean, yeah, mostly.
The important thing to juxtapose in this the whole thought experiment is that we can interpret winning or losing however way we interpret it, but the end result of who won went down in a specific way and only that way. What happened is what happened, regardless of who interprets what, how. Okay. And that's the whole the bottom line of that.
I like
one.
it.
Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Number 3, truth depends on the opinions and beliefs of people. And I have you here as a slightly disagree.
Slightly disagree.
Does in that game analogy and playing Mario Kart?
Yeah, keep talking.
Wait, do you want?
Depends on the opinions and beliefs of people.
Yeah,
I mean, the only reason I even maybe give it a consideration of eking towards agree is just that there's relativity. There's
so if we eliminate, so there's all these ideas that are probably flowing through your head to see what is the exception to this rule. Let's just stick to things that are true false. Like either you won first place in the game or you didn't win first place. Would you concede to that?
Yeah.
Like there's only one person who won. Okay. Does the truth of who won depend at all on anyone's opinion or belief? So if we redefined it to be about things that are true false, would you then strongly disagree?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I see that.
Number 4. We agree on that one already.
What's that?
People create words and find their meaning.
Yeah.
Just to really quick, is there anything other than people that create words? Okay, define what they mean.
No,
we both agree.
That's it.
Yeah. We probably agree on a lot. I'm just trying to see. I'm rephrasing our minds on this thing to for a greater purpose later on. So let's take a look here. Something is true if everyone agrees to it, and you strongly disagree. I also strongly disagree.
Yeah, that's when things get...
If
that's
everyone...
when trouble happens. Because if everyone's agreeing on something, that's totally...
That's not the thing that makes it true. Like, everyone can think I won. Well, that might be different because winning is a source of judgment. So if it were... The game analogy doesn't really work super well. Mm-hmm. But let's say a thing out there exists or doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Like, you could say anything. Leprechauns, mermaids, whatever.
Yeah.
If everyone agrees to it, is that the thing that makes it true? And you disagree. I also disagree.
Okay. That makes it true.
Strong belief, even without action, can change external reality. And you are mostly disagree. I find that to be curious.
So
why would you?
Okay. I maybe have missed. I may have not.
Take a look at it.
Which one is it?
Number 6.
Strong belief, even without action, can change external reality. Well, that kind of goes back to my, I guess what is action? So now I'm actually reinterpreting that indifferently because I didn't really take into account the word.
The workshop itself will make the thing slide, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, I maybe have just gone strong belief, blah, 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 external reality. I didn't really see the even without action.
Yeah.
Because my law of attraction belief
take your time with it.
Is actually action.
Take a moment. Take a moment of silence to just pause and think about it.
Strong belief even without action can change external reality. So, the thing is, even belief can be interpreted as action. Because my brain is spinning, and that's an actual physical feat.
Belief itself can itself be an action, or at least being convinced of a thing is itself an action.
And I think that can change external reality. So I'm actually going to kind of...
Also, just to put a finer point on it, if I'm, if I have something that we would colloquially call an internal truth, if I have something that you and I would say is an internal idea or belief, that is my mind in the external world? In other words, our internal things, our internal realities, a part of the greater external reality. Is it like a Venn diagram?
Maybe, because our consciousness may not be encapsulated within this physical body. So then, therefore, your thought process and belief that could be tied into your consciousness could actually be affecting things around you. And I think there's actually scientific evidence where they have actually measured energy outside of you with their changing your thoughts. I think that's actually been something that's been looked into. So,
and one more example to add to this: if my brain is damaged, does that affect the way my internal, what we might call our internal reality, operate? It'll change.
Very much so. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, and then the very last question on this: is there anything about my mind at all that does not exist in the external world?
Is there anything in my mind that doesn't exist in the, I don't know,
external world?
I'm having a hard time understanding what that
Yeah.
say. Is there things in my mind that don't exist in the external world? I'm not sure exactly what that means.
How do I put this? Is my mind and my thoughts contingent on the external world? No? They're not?
No, because I think you could be deaf, blind, and dumb and still have a mind.
If I'm deaf, blind, and dumb, are those descriptions about reality and the external world?
I'm not sure.
Like somebody over there is blind. Is that an external truth?
To you, to them, it is.
Is it true? If they are blind, is the statement they are blind an external truth?
I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm basically looking to see strong belief, even without action, can change external reality. And you said belief is an action itself. Okay.
Belief is an action itself. So, and I think those thoughts can turn into external reality. Thoughts are powerful.
Yeah.
And everything is a thought.
There any
this
thought?
pen was once a thought.
Okay.
And now
somebody wanted to make a
it's
spaceship,
pen.
a shuttle on it.
Someone believed in themselves to create a company that created these spaceship pens, and then that belief turned into action, and that belief in action on conception was an action, and it changed eternal reality. So I don't know.
And then I think this is my last question on this. Is there any way at all a belief that somebody holds? Is there any way for a belief to not affect the external world in some way, or if we hold a belief, is it necessarily consequential? If we hold a belief, does it necessarily
have consequence?
Yeah. Is there any belief one can have that doesn't have consequences? In some, either seen or unseen.
I think it's the action that is the consequence. Sometimes
it's the most consequential. I guess I'm just talking about the first strong belief. Is strong belief itself always going to result in some kind of consequence somewhere,
Generally,
either in your mind or in the external world?
Yeah.
I agree completely. I think we examine that one in all the different ways, and I think we see eye to eye pretty well on that, and we can come to free will later, or law of attraction later, because I think both of those are tied into number 6. Okay, let's see here. Number 7, some beliefs should not be questioned. Do you disagree? Think it's a good thing to question beliefs? Yep. Okay, cool. Number 8, someone can be certain of something yet still be mistaken, and you agree. Number 9, it is bad when someone doubts their beliefs. And you disagree so hard it's almost off the scale. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
not bad. In other words, and just to flip this one, it's good to question everything.
Of course.
Okay, yeah.
It's
yeah.
We
don't need to spend much more time than that on it. Number 10, if all members of a society share a belief, they are justified to hold that belief. And you also disagree, but I just want to clarify this word justified really quick. When talking about things that are true, false, how do you interpret the word justified in this sentence here?
Justified.
Yeah. Someone justified.
I don't know.
Do you mind if I give you my? Because I think it's important for the survey in general. I would define it, and tell me if you would define it some other way. But I define it as justified just means somebody is marked by good and or legitimate reasons to be holding their belief or their idea.
Okay.
Would you agree to that? Justified? I'm going to read that one again. Justified here. If
all members of society share a belief, they're justified to hold that belief.
And we would disagree with that statement. But does that word justified make sense the way I described it? Justified just means they're legitimate. They've legitimately acquired their certainty. Someone is justified.
Yeah, we're all in agreement about something, so I'm justified to hold a belief.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a false belief, it doesn't seem very just.
Yeah, so like with a flat earth or something, or let's say somebody says Jesus is a demigod, since that was one that you picked, right? What would we need in order to be justified that this is true, that Jesus is a demigod?
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
I mean, the thing is, the subject of Jesus is also a complex one, even with me, because I kind of, it was an umbrella statement that I said, because the chance that he could have been on earth is true, and also the Christ consciousness of teachings and the way of thought and how to be, I think, are also truths.
Yeah.
It's just,
I guess in this scenario, since we're talking about the scale and what would move us on the scale and what the word justified means. So, let's say we're at a 1 for Jesus as a demigod. Okay, we don't think it's true. What would we need to see, or what would we need? What would we need to see to slide up the scale?
Well, the stories in the Bible, he is resurrected. He has the power to do that only because he was a demigod, and then he returned 3 days later and showed himself to his people.
So that's a story.
That's a story, but that is what it took to show them, his apostles and his followers, that he is actually the Son of God and resurrected and returned, and that makes it truth.
I guess the question is,
but to me, it's a story, and the stories are good, and if he existed as a person,
how could one be justified? And imagine, let's say it is true that Jesus is a demigod. What would we accept to consider ourselves justified in believing in it? Is there a thing that we could rely on to make us justified in believing in a thing like that?
That it's...
and you can change what's true in this thought
through him we attain eternal life, and all those things are justified to believe in it. I mean, it's we're justified to hold that belief because it could make you a better person or make you have hope to have eternal life. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't understand. No.
Well, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but number 13 says believing something without evidence is admirable. Would evidence qualify as a justification for believing in a demigod?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. We're just thinking abstractly here about...
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time with abstract thought.
Name of the channel is Abstract Activist.
Okay.
So it's all about thinking abstractly, and you're following me really well so far with my analogies and things like that.
I've always had a hard time with abstract thought, and I've always had a hard time following with exercises like this. It's always been more difficult to me. That's why I'm actually having
You're doing great.
Repeat yourself. Okay, I don't understand. Will you say that again?
You sound real good. You're repeating things that I'm saying, and I'm doing the same. We're following each other great.
Cool.
The only reason why I wanted to bring that up is I wanted to know what the word justified means when assessing true-false claims, and what would it take to slide up a scale before we talk about what would slide us down a scale. So what
would slide you up a scale is that you're justified by...
Yeah, and what are the things that make a person justified in believing in stuff?
Well,
is it evidence?
It's usually the group.
Okay,
someone else told you.
That's number 10. If all members of a society share a belief, they are justified to hold that belief. So if all members believe it, are they justified because all members believe it?
So yes, but I don't think that's right. So yeah, you're justified. Everyone's believing that something is to be true, so then you are justified to be part of groupthink and not actually discover the truth for yourself. Because we all believe in the same thing, so I'm going to be part of the group.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's correct or true. I mean, there's a lot of things. For example, I don't even need to give examples, but there's things right now in groupthink in our society, among our friend group, or among the United States, or among the world, that we're all kind of on board about, but it might not quite be like that, and I think it's used to manipulate the masses. So these justifications, to me, are other people manipulating the group to change
Let me rephrase the language of this question. If all members of a society share a belief, does that make the belief true?
No. It doesn't. Okay. And I think evidence with new evidence, things change.
Okay, so that's what I think the phrase "they are justified to hold that belief." That's, I think, what the word "justified" means in this statement is it's tantamount to saying if all members of a society share a belief, that makes the belief true, or that gives us justification for saying that it is.
It gives us justification to say that it is true.
Okay, if we were to rephrase that statement there, you would still strongly disagree, right? If all members of I just want to clarify here. If all members of a society share a belief, because I'm also strongly disagree, but if all members of a society share a belief, are they justified because all members, are they justified to hold the belief because all members of society share that understanding?
Well, yeah, they're justified, but I just don't think that's right.
So they're still justified?
You can find it within yourself that like I can believe in these things because I don't know everything, but maybe someone else does, and so I'm gonna like jump on board to this group thing.
I think it's weird because I feel like you understand me, and yet, let me see. If all members of a society share a belief, so let me put it in a different way. If
I mean, what are we trying to get at?
I'm trying to get at whether or not all members of a society can be used ever to justify holding an idea. Do you justify holding an idea ever because the number of people around you believing in it? Okay. And maybe that because you disagreed, so I'm not trying to push you off of strongly disagree, because you already strongly disagree. So you're already in the same line. I'm just trying to exercise our mind about the word justified.
I'm trying. And it's stretching my brain.
I think that last one landed with you. So like if
say it again then.
Yeah, if all members, are we ever justified in holding a true false, a factually true or false idea? Are we ever justified in holding one of those ideas because all members of the people around us are thinking it?
Am I? No, but I think people do.
Oh.
And I don't think that's right. I'm not justified in my belief because the majority might believe in something true or false.
Hold on. So if you wouldn't want to believe something just because everyone around you believes it.
Never.
And that's why you marked disagree.
But when you say people...
However, are people justified... In other words...
I think a lot of people can't think for themselves.
Why do you have a different standard for yourself, but you would accept other people's standard to be the... So let's say...
Because I believe that I allow them to be.
Okay, you don't think astrology is true. Right,
so I think there's something to it, but I don't believe it's true.
Right.
You are more friends that love astrology define
for sure.
Way.
You have reason to doubt.
I allow them to. I think it's nice that they do that, and I'm okay with them having their chances.
Don't worry about it. But we have reason to doubt it. If all people though in a group think that it's true, are they justified because they're surrounded by people who all think it's true?
I think it helps them with a sense of fellowship and community, and
that's a motive.
Yeah.
I'm only interested for this workshop as to whether or not a thing is justified to be factually true or not, to be considered to be factually true.
Is it justify factually truth? No, doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah. But the first thing you said, the motive.
No, the question is about
the motive, yes, but then factually true, false, then no.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's probably why this word justified is really sticky. We're talking about whether or not it's acceptable, or we would want people to accept this principle.
So, I mean, if instead of saying justified, it said acceptable, I would still
if
say...
all members of a society share a belief, it is acceptable for them to hold a belief?
No.
Okay.
So does that make me answer the same question still the same way, though?
I think we could replace justified with acceptable. And
it wouldn't
necessarily mean the same thing, but it would be tantamount to meaning the same thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
But it would make me...
I've never spent so much time on something where we agree before. But I felt like it's really important to clarify that word justified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So justified, just to bring it home, means they've been marked by a good and legitimate reason.
Well, and a good and legitimate reason is that everyone's agreeing.
The point of
generally.
The point of this number is to call into question whether or not all members of a society holding an idea is a good reason to be holding the idea.
I mean, there always should still be questions and challenges.
But you would never yourself hold an idea simply because of anyone believing it or the number of people around you believing it. Got it. We are in full agreement. We were at the beginning and we still are now. I just wanted to exercise that word because that word is really slippery usually. Yeah. All right, cool. Can I move on to the next one?
I would love for us to move
Yeah, please, let's move on to the next one.
But that was interesting. And
actually
it did make me think about things in a way. It's not like we're changing our minds or anything, but it's a discussion I think is important.
Yeah.
Because I have a knee-jerk disdain for we all believe in this, or the evidence is in, therefore there's nowhere to argue, or if I'm arguing against the majority, then I'm all of a sudden a denier, or I am stupid, or I am crazy, because maybe it's not true, even though we're all thinking it is true right now, because there maybe could be also other evidences that we're not taking into account, because we're only looking at a narrow view of evidence, but if we looked at a broader perspective or more evidences, then there could be something else that could to make us change our behaviors, not to just be to act a certain way or believe certain things, because it's a certain way. I mean, anyways,
I think we are in full agreement. So number 11 is probably my second favorite on the whole survey. Believing something that is false feels just like believing something that is true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we both agree. Yeah. So one can be absolutely fully convicted and discover that they were wrong the whole time. And that feeling of holding an idea that's true, that belief that it's true, is the feeling and emotions associated with that confidence is unrelated to the truth of it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Totally.
That's right.
We both agree. So I'm going to move on.
Okay.
Yeah. Feelings are a reliable way to discover truth.
No.
Okay. Do you want to be strongly disagree on
No.
No, you're
because
slightly.
I think feelings are
What happened to my pen?
I don't know.
Oh, it's right here.
I think feelings come from a lot of different sources within yourself and your psyche and your mind and your observer, your identity, and where, so there is something to be said about feelings and where you're drawing your conclusions and what's going to lead you to take action.
So let's for the purpose of this workshop, just think about things that are true-false. Things that are factually the case or not the case. Not necessarily like the best path to take in our lives, but like assessing whether or not the things on my list are true or false, right? Is it ever okay to use feelings to discover whether or not those things are factually true or not?
A little bit.
Yeah. Which ones?
The list that's
we're
on
going
the
to take a
iPad?
break after this one.
The list that's on the iPad?
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the list again. But
well,
no,
imagine...
I think feelings there's something to be said about that. So you don't have to just be this robot that's taking into account all the evidence, and that's the only way to draw conclusions. I think there's a little bit to be said about intuition, and maybe that's different than feelings. Is intuition and feelings?
That's a whole other great discussion too. Yeah, like what's an intuition and how is it different than a belief?
A feeling or a feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
So there are some things like so like here's what I said last time during an interview. When I wake up in the morning, I dress myself, right? And I'm like, is it hot outside or cold outside, right? And then that determines how many layers I put on, right? But generally, if I
Relative
feel like
in
it,
layers.
maybe I want to be more goth and I'll wear all black. Sometimes maybe I'll want to be a hippie and I'll go get all my colorful stuff, right? It determines what I feel, right? So that would be like, and I think that's what's partially in your mind right now. So scoop out all the thoughts that are like that and just focus on things that are facts. Like, here's a box of Tic Tacs. Don't open it. I got one. This is my closed one.
I love orange Tic Tacs.
You take that one. That's for eating. This is for demonstration. I do that just because so many people want to eat them. Would you concede that within this container right now, if you only had a second to look at it, would you concede that because people create words and we define what they mean, that there must be either an even or an odd number in here?
What? I mean,
number of Tic Tacs in here.
I have no idea what you're trying to say to me right now.
Is there any possibility that there's something other than an even or an odd number?
No. There's either an odd
Got
or it's either
totally.
I mean,
yeah,
it's not a half. I guess there could be a half and one in there.
And that's only because we define what even and odd mean, and that just so happens to cover all integers above 0, right?
Yeah.
And if we consider our truth is that which best matches external reality, and we're trying to determine how many are in here, like one can say that numbers are contingent on the mind themselves, like numbers don't exist without minds, maybe. But would we agree that there is some amount in here? There's some amount.
There is a sum.
There's a sum
in there.
And the sum is either going to be even or it's going to be odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either.
It's going to be one or the other. I would say that even... So I would say if the claim is the number in here is even, that would be a way of... that would be on... We could put that on a scale of confidence. Mm-hmm. However, if we didn't count it at all, would we be justified in saying that they're even?
Justified?
Yeah.
What's the truth in that box?
So we don't know the truth. We're trying to figure out what the truth is.
What does it say?
Here's the thing. If we have no access at all to the truth, are we justified in saying one way or the other?
Yes. Are justified.
If we haven't counted them?
It's going to be either odd or even.
We can say we can say for sure that it might be. It has to be one or the other for sure. Are we justified in saying even?
No.
Or odd and just picking one?
Well, if everybody believes it, no, we're not justified.
If everyone thought they were even,
they're still not justified.
They're still not justified. Okay, so it seems like if you don't count, you're not justified, and if everyone believed it, you would also still not be justified by just saying it's even or just saying it's odd. Yeah, okay. And if we used feelings to move up in confidence on our scale that they were even, that would not be... No. Okay. So you would not want to do that. If we took all the things out of your mind that were not facts, with regard to number 12, feelings are a reliable way to discover truth. Would you say that with talking about facts that are true, false, would you ever rely on your feelings?
I mean, you rely on them, and you just the outcome is the outcome, and then you just try not to feel or have you just deal with it when the truth comes out, and then you move forward.
Would you ever be justified in thinking a thing is true because of your feelings? If it's true, false?
Would I be justified to...
Yeah. Would you be marked by good reasons to think a fact is true or not true? Either way, because you're using that feeling as a reason to slide on your scale? Would you ever want to use feelings to slide on your scale about a fact claim? So this isn't about opinions
Try
or the
not
best
to,
way
I
to.
guess. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you then
Doesn't
strongly
make sense.
disagree?
I strongly disagree about the feelings.
Because maybe
Draw
you were
conclusions.
only slightly disagree. It's possible that maybe you were just slightly disagree because there's so much to consider here about
Yeah.
a thing that's true. But if I were to eliminate all these other things and just focus on fact claims, would you?
Yes, of course.
You would strongly
Yeah.
disagree?
I would.
Okay.
It's just there. It's a big picture, and there's a lot of elements and options, and so when you're talking about a box of Tic Tacs and odd or even, yeah. So.
Oh, does that mean we only have 15 minutes left?
Yep.
Okay. So that may be a good place to end it, and maybe what we can do is pick it up next time.
I would love to, and yeah, this was an incredible
'Cause, I have-
conversation. This is
isn't
actually
it?
really a good conversation, and
Isn't it?
I think we all should have these conversations.
So I'm actually at the halfway point. And what I'd like to do is I want to, and actually it's not even really just the halfway point. It's the halfway point of the second. We're halfway down the pyramid. So it starts with
Well, you know
what,
that
when,
this
and
might
how.
not be something that's like, maybe a person's going to sit through. Maybe they would, because it's interesting.
I have no
But-
idea if anyone's going to sit through this stuff, but it's not
I
necessarily
think that's what it's
for
about.
everyone else. To me, this is mutually beneficial for a couple of reasons. For one, this is a great way for you to re-examine your own epistemology, the pathway that you use to determine things that are true. And it's a great way for me to learn either new true things, to seek out the reasons why other people hold their beliefs, to reevaluate my own. And I'm
I want
going
to get
in,
into things, because I would like to actually get into some of the things that I'm holding on to, because I want to explain them to you. And it's something that we can also do on a social time.
so you have to go do a thing with your car.
I got to go sell the car, yeah.
Okay.
Right now.
And then how long do you think that might be?
So I need to go to Aaron Barrett's house and then stop at a friend's house, and I can come back here.
Okay, and I have to leave here at 8. So why don't we? I'll turn everything off right now, and then what I'll do is I'll just hang on to all this stuff, and then when you come back, we'll pick up on number 13, and then we'll close out with the how portion and go over these on the list. And this is great because honestly, I was going to take a break anyway. Yeah, because it'll do that.
My brain's
Imagine doing this for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, you did that for the whole
At Burning Man.
Yeah, it must have been incredible.
It was
Incredible.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, what a fun thing. Like, 'cause that, I remember my first burns I had more of an intimate one-on-one conversations with a lot of people because my mind was just blown up, and so I had a lot of conversations.
Dude, Burning Man will do that.
And so the last one, it was like, it's my 40th birthday, and I camped solo, and so I kinda,
Is that when the birthday cake blew up?
Yes.
On your birthday? I was
the
there.
birthday cake blew up
Yeah.
at midnight. Happy birthday. But of course, afterwards, you had to leave, and Chelsea and her boyfriend did their thing, and then I became utterly alone. And it was a good experience.
There was a lot going on for you that day, too.
I was really, really. It's incredible how you can be out there with Robot Heart and Mind Warrior and 40,000 people, I think, in the middle. It was like everybody was there. It was the biggest party I've ever seen in my life. Battling art cars with the two best speaker systems in the world.
Yeah.
Going at it, and I'm out there and like I just had my birthday. I just said goodbye to you guys, and Amy we lost Amy in the beginning of the night. She was supposed to be like my homie the rest for the night,
Mm-hmm.
and so to become so utterly alone at that moment was a good thing, but it was good because it was hard. And like I said in the beginning of this interview, the things that happen to us in our life that are difficult are for our good and for our wisdom gaining. And so it was something that I kind of needed,
If they help us learn, sure.
If they help you learn,
Or
well, they all help you learn.
grow
Even though
emotionally.
it might lead to damage, but then even then the damage is then a hardship that if you overcome, can become a strength in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I said, the beginning of my first burns, I did a lot of this, and I was having a lot of really interesting, enlightening conversations with people, because my point of view is my sense of self and identity, who I really am, and what the hell am I doing here, was finally being stretched. And so instead of being stuck in my past, I was able to approach things in the present moment. Like I had the last time my father hit me, Peter Pan syndrome. And I think a lot of it is because of our traumas and past experiences, but these are for our good, and it makes us better and stronger people. So I'm not regretting anything, and I'm grateful, and I've definitely forgiven a lot. But it's time to just be present now and find some purpose and help people. And I see what you're doing here is part of the healing process and helping us attain knowledge.
Would you say that seeking the truth is healing?
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Or seeking what's true is healing?
Yes.
I think that's the best note to end this portion of the interview on, then. Thanks, baby. Go get that car figured out.
Selling it. Okay, that is a double sign time to go. I've just
double
exact
sign
amount of time to
get out of here.
It's great.
I'll see you in a few hours, or maybe tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're gonna have time to come back and wrap this up, especially if we don't linger. But 5 o'clock, 5:15. I could be back at 6 possibly.
Okay.
But there's traffic.
Let's go get it done.
And that traffic is the
Let's get it done.
We don't know.
Let's go. Oh, because I would love to see if we can finish it today. So yeah, it's been good. All right, go wrap it up, and then it's not over yet. So if we can do it today, while this is still fresh on your mind,
I think that would be good. And I'm just busy, and I need to take care of things.
All right, run out of here. Get yourself together.
Take a pee.
I'm basically not going to touch anything in this living room, and I'll just wait till you get back.
I feel if someone's caught on to this, this is an incredible thought experiment.
Imagine doing this 300 times.
Well, you're gotten the hang of it.
That's how many of these worksheets I've
These are hard. These are hard. And then the little words in these sentences matter.
I think so too.
And so
don't spoil it. I want to come on back.
I got 2 things to do, and I'm back.
Okay.
So hopefully traffic isn't too bad.